Hi everyone, it's Bob here from Greedy for Good, but also from Browns for Better. And one of the things that I'm so excited about at the Sydney Writers Festival, I met Dr Andrew Leigh. And I came across his work with the book called Reconnected. Can you come a little bit closer, just in case of sound? Yeah. With his book called Reconnected. So Dr Andrew, what inspired you to write this book?
Well, Bob, I worked with Robert Putnam and I was a student at Harvard, and Bob had just written a book called Bowling Alone about the collapse of community life in America. That prompted me to write the Australian version, Disconnected. But then that was pretty negative, and I wanted to talk about things that people were doing to build community. So there's a chunk in Reconnected about the problem, but most of the book is about the solution. Those organisations that are growing their number of volunteers, boosting their number of donors, engaging effectively with the community. And so Reconnected is really a community builder's handbook for organisations that are seeking to grow social capital in Australia.
Fantastic. So how you can relate to this at an individual level is like, think about the number of neighbours you know, right? And how you used to know in the 1980s. And today I've just heard you speak about inequality and how by 1980 we were far more like Scandinavia, and that's changed over time. And that brings me to the second book. But things are changing, and the groups that we're building and the community groups are helping all of that, right? And in the multicultural communities, we're still connected. We noticed that in the referendum, there's a lot of that connection, and so we were able to convey that message across. So it's really important to read this book for a better Australia. Now, that nicely brings me on to the second book. Gets the title in front, The Shortest History of Economics. So you've just presented about the inequality and how we can better that. I'd love you to share a little bit more about what you shared today for our audience.
Well, economics is a discipline which is focused on trade-offs around scarcity, around ensuring that we make the most efficient decisions. And the story of economics is really a story of a discipline which has shaped so much of the modern world. Economics doesn't just tell you something about the gold price, it can also teach you about the incentives which shape people's decisions about whether to marry or divorce and whether to shift a job or stay in the current role. The story of capitalism is the story of the agricultural revolution, the industrial revolution, and now the AI revolution. So I've woven these two things, the story of the discipline and the story of capitalism, together into the shortest history of economics.
Thank you so much. And he's keeping the gold bit, and there's a part which is now about doing better or abundance. So we call it doing better, Grounds for Better, and so there's actually abundance in the abundance economy. So would you like to give a little bit of teaser about your talk coming up?
On the 3rd of June, I'll be giving a talk for the Chifley Institute in Melbourne, which is about the abundance agenda for Australia. Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson have written a book called Abundance in the United States, in which they've argued that an important priority is to ensure that progressives have a pro-building agenda. I'm keen to think about how that applies in the Australian context, how we can manage to look after the environment and look after the economy, while at the same time making housing and clean energy more accessible.
Thank you so much. So there's a lot there, but I'll share some links to the books through this, and thank you so much again.
Thank you, Bob.
Cheers.